Hey there and welcome back to Mutant Year Zero. My name is Pete and today we complete another episode of our Iron Mutant playthrough. In the last episode we began our search for Hammon, unfortunately with little success so far. We only found Hammon's cabin abandoned and overrun by ghouls, but among his notes we found some clues pointing us towards a crash site further north. Along the way, we also recruited fellow Stalker Selma, and we took a quick detour to the Fallen Angel, a helicopter crash site where we had our first small boss fight of the game. Now today we will continue our journey northwards, and to prepare for that we want to make a few inventory changes. And our focus for this one is Selma, who will receive both the Gaper and Dux's crossbow, so Bormin will have to go with the scattergun as a second weapon, while Dux equips Selma's ancient pistol. Very importantly, we also want to give Dux a chem flare. This is a throwable item that gives us a 25% aim increase against all enemies that it lights up, and in the right situations this can be extremely helpful. Now, once Selma then has the crossbow and the Gaper equipped, we can then pay a visit to Delta, because we have some weapon parts to spend.
Fix boss was my dad, and my dad just died. So now you're stuck with me. What do you want?
Now what we want is to first of all dismantle the Stinger pistol. If we play our cards right, we will not need it going forward, while the 11 weapon parts it gives us are very useful. The most important thing we can do here, however, is to upgrade Bormin's needle pistol. That way we can now deal 15 points of damage silently. Now at this point we technically have enough parts to take another weapon to level 2, but we don't want to do that. Instead we want to save the parts and wait until we have 60.
Take it easy.
Our next stop is now Iridia, who should have a few new items for sale since we surpassed level 10 last episode.
My favorite, the Molotov cocktail. Simple and effective. Light it, throw it, watch the world burn.
And not only does she seem to have an interesting fascination for all kinds of weaponry, but she does in fact also have a few new things in stock. You can see it here, the EMP grenade, 2 armors, several scopes, as well as some chem flares, but what we are interested in is the pyro armor. As you can see, this piece of equipment absorbs fire damage, and well, Iridia is not the only one with a fascination for Molotov cocktails, so let's grab one for the not so cheap price of 120 units of scrap.
Safe travels.
And just to make sure we don't forget, we will equip it right away, and it will go on Bormin, where it presents a straight upgrade over the Stalker vest, which in turn will then go on Selma, so now all 3 of our characters have at least some form of protection. Now today we won't pay a visit to Prip's place. We only have 1 artifact at the moment and the next upgrade we want to grab costs 2, but we will stop by the Elder for some more guidance.
Your search for Hammon continues. Good. His skill with machines keeps the Ark's heart beating. But his curiosity may be his downfall. Always going deeper into the zone, searching for something that's not there. I beg you, Stalkers, find Hammon before his questions kill him. Farewell. Remember your Elder's guidance.
Alright, and with that, today's journey can begin. Our eventual goal, that we will likely not reach today, is going to be the House of Bones, but for now the furthest we can go is once again the High Road, from where we will then slowly but steadily venture further north. And for the most part, there is nothing new to explore here. After all, we have visited this first area twice already, so I think we can slightly speed things up as we once again make our way past the campsite where we met Selma last episode. Behind it then we get to the crossroads where last time we went right, but today we'll go left and up the ladders. Before we do that though, we can collect 1 more pile of scrap behind the car here that I overlooked last time, and then we can climb up and see what the rest of the high road has in store for us.
I don't think we want Rodhead over there to call his buddies. Let's stay hidden.
And I know we haven't really seen any enemies yet, but with that line Dux is referring to another shaman, who is coincidentally also one of the first enemies we'll have to eliminate in this area. However, the first ghoul to take out, number 19 of this playthrough to be exact, that would be this one right here, patrolling all on its own, and with that making for an easy target.
Enough! Not so bad.
Now, there is also a hunter on the lookout that we want to stay away from for the time being, and the medbot further in the back also needs to be avoided. The chest over here, meanwhile, is very much of interest.
What do we have here?
Alright, we have found some gladiator armor. This one not only provides double the protection of the Stalker vest, but it also grants immunity from critical hits. This makes it rather pointless to put it on Bormin, even though he is our designated tank, because Bormin's headgear already has critical hit immunity built in, and he needs to stick to the pyro armor for now anyway. So instead we'll put it on Dux and then slowly make our way back. At this point we want to follow a very particular order in which we take out the enemies in this area.
Hey, you on the truck! Ugly face! You see anything out there?
No, there's nothing out there. It's the zone. And stop calling me ugly face. Look at your face.
I can't look at my face, it's my face! Now put your eyes out there and look for intruders.
And those intruders are right here waiting for the shaman to be all on its own, as we once again need a silent kill here. Now, if we're lucky, we get a critical hit with Selma here. But it looks like that is not the case, so we will have to burn one of our abilities. As you know, the shaman can call in reinforcements on its turn.
Yeah!
So we need to either kill it in our surprise round here, or, since we don't quite have the damage output for that, use an ability like Hog Rush to incapacitate it. That ability is silent, the shaman can't do anything on its turn, and Bormin can now go for the kill.
One and done! Get your asses over here.
Alright, that's one enemy down. Our next target is now the hunter on the ground here, and once again the approach will be very similar. I am still hoping for a critical hit to start things off, even though again the chances are low. As a matter of fact, none of our characters can even land a guaranteed hit to begin with, so we have to move in just a little bit closer. Selma's hit is then unfortunately not a critical and also doesn't set the enemy on fire, which would have been the second way of getting a kill here without using any of our abilities.
Some more?
Now, unfortunately, our enemy still has 6 hit points left, which means Dux will only be able to kill it with a critical hit. And he also has an ability to guarantee one such critical. The only issue is that it reduces his overall aim. So let's activate his moth wings and get him airborne. The height advantage will give him an aim bonus, cancelling out the penalty, and so we can now land a guaranteed critical hit.
You ain't half bad for a newbie.
Get over here.
Right, so we have gained a level, but we'll ignore that for the moment. Instead, we are now fast approaching the reason why we put the gaper on Selma. So while Dux and Bormin both go into hiding next to the car here, Selma can loop around, grab some loot along the way, and eventually make it over to the other side of the lookout. Down here, she now goes into hiding as well, and at this point we play the waiting game, as we want the hunter to come back to its spot directly above us. Alright, the hunter is here, which means we can start the fight, activate Selma and switch over to the gaper, and then, thanks to her super tendons, she can jump straight up without the need for a ladder and blast the hunter down onto the ground on the other side. Now, as you can see, the hunter also took 4 points of fall damage here, so for a change we won't need any additional abilities to take it out. Then, as we move ducks here, we want to make sure to stay as close to the dead hunter on the left while still maintaining a 100% hit chance, as this will help with the medbot later.
Now it's getting fun.
The same thing goes for Bormin, who has to stay a little further over to the right though. Dux's snazzy visor just gives him that tiny bit of range advantage.
Sleeping unit inbound. Injury analysis in progress. Confirmative. He's lying down again.
Alright, the medbot is now the only enemy left and it has started its reviving procedure, which is of course something that we want to interrupt.
What you got?
Now, even though it looks like it, the shot from Bormin here does not actually achieve that, and Dux will also only do a bit more damage.
Oh, does that hurt?
That is why we once again need the Gaper, this time in combination with the run and gun. Its knockback effect will interrupt the reviving, which is very much necessary, otherwise we would be fighting 2 enemies on the next turn.
Applying antiseptic spray.
The rest of the fight is now fairly straightforward. Another shot from Selma brings the medbot down to only 2 hit points. Inadvertently, that actually knocked the medbot into full cover, which is why Dux only comes up with a 25% hit chance here. Luckily though, we still have Bormin, who can quickly switch over to the scattergun, move into the right angle and then get the kill. And with that, the area has been cleared and we can proceed to the next one.
The way forward goes through the tunnel. Let's go. All these dead steel chariots. Where did the riders go?
Now, just like Bormin said, the way onwards goes through the tunnel here. In front of it, we can also collect some more weapon parts, and after just gaining another level, we want to now use that to give Bormin his next ability. At this point, we are unlocking Twitch Shot, which will come in handy very soon. This ability allows him to fire twice in one go, albeit with a 25% aim penalty, so it is very similar to XCOM's rapid fire in that sense. And that finally completes the high road, and we can now move on into the next area, the Cave of Fear. As soon as we enter, we want to make another inventory change, as for this one, Bormin should have the Gaper back, so him and Selma can quickly exchange their secondary guns.
Weird place for a mass grave. What were all these people doing?
Running away, I think. Maybe the Red Plague hit their town and they needed to evacuate.
Evacuating or stampeding over each other to be the first one out. Dumbass ancients.
And even in this comparatively small area, we do of course have some enemies.
You know the Stalkers we captured, right? Right? They ran away. I lost them.
You let the Stalkers escape? The bobbleheads are gonna be mad at you. You better get them back.
I can't. The boat took them across the river.
And now the bobbleheads have the boat. But where's your boat? If you don't get those Stalkers back, they'll shrink your brain.
And another lovely conversation here hinting at a boat that we will encounter ourselves very soon.
Damn. All the people trapped in this tunnel trying to claw their way out. Makes me sick.
Now, as you may have noticed, we are ignoring the main group of enemies for the time being. Instead, we can take out a few stragglers first.
Today, dickwad.
Serves you right.
Good stuff.
Okay, back me up.
That butcher here is one of 2 enemies that we want to eliminate before dealing with the main group. And while we slowly approach enemy number 2, we also find this note here. These appear to be the last words of a man named Jonas, who writes an interesting message to a certain woman named Tina, and in it he apologizes for killing her pet turtle. I guess staring death in the face makes you admit the strangest things. Now, right ahead of us, we now have Butcher number 2. A few weapon parts can be collected first, and then we can go for the ambush.
Finally, way out of this torture chamber. Follow me. That had to hurt.
Bullseye!
Sweet takedown.
Now, as you can see, our supply of weapon parts is growing quickly, and we are almost up to the 60 that we need. We could at this point also advance into the next area, as the exit is right here, but of course we won't do that until we have cleaned out this one properly. And the only thing standing between us and that goal is that trio of enemies ahead of us, but of course we don't want to just attack them blindly. So instead we'll do the next best thing and put Bormin and Selma into hiding, while Dux will, rather carelessly it might look like, begin the ambush, however only to throw a chem flare. As you can see, doing so is silent, which means we can throw it right in the middle of the group here without being noticed, and because we are unnoticed we can simply exit combat again now, while the chem flare keeps burning and with it the 25% aim increase as well. With Dux then safely in cover, we will launch another ambush, this time with Selma, who does not actually need line of sight to use her tree hugger ability, so we can now root all 3 enemies into place and none of them will be able to attack her. Now up next is Bormin, and this is where things get interesting. We already want to switch him over to the Gaper and make sure that he has a guaranteed shot against the Pyro, but what we'll actually do is use Hog Rush again to knock down the Hunter. This now makes Bormin the Pyro's only visible target, and we are keeping it that way by digging down with Selma and not revealing Dux at all.
Got it! That frickin' stinks!
Personal injury. He's lying down again.
And yes, with no regard for one of its own, the Pyro just threw a Molotov at Bormin. Bormin, however, is fireproof thanks to the Pyro armor, so it did nothing to him, while the Hunter took a little bit of damage. Now the Hunter is also still knocked down for one more turn, so our focus is now on the Pyro, and another guaranteed hit from Selma here will bring it down to 6 hit points.
Serves you right!
And coincidentally, 6 hit points, that is exactly the damage output of the Gaper.
Stay there!
Injury analysis in progress. Personal injury. Don't step into the light. I'm on my way.
Now the Hunter is still knocked down, and thanks to Tree Hugger the Medbot also can't move, but that will change next turn, so let's strike first. The Hunter is now down to 7 hit points and burning already, which means it loses 1 additional hit point at the beginning of its turn, so doing only 6 points of damage on this turn would technically be enough to kill it.
Oh, does that hurt?
As you can see though, we are not using the Gaper, even though that does exactly 6 points, because we might still need that on the next turn.
He's lying down again. Don't step into the light.
That hurts!
On my way.
And now only the Medbot is left, a situation very similar to the fight we just had back outside.
Yeah, I did that. What do you think about that, huh?
One quick word of advice here, it is always good to use the Gaper last in these situations, otherwise the knockback effect may screw up the hit chances for the rest of the group. Also, if you can, try to knock enemies towards your characters and not away from them. Those are the small details that can make this game a little easier from time to time.
Triage in progress.
And here we go, one more shot and the fight is over.
Hey guys, come here.
Alright, and with that we have cleared the Cave of Fear and have jumped straight to level 15. Among the dead enemies we also now find another weapon damage module. This one comes with a 2-point damage increase on critical hits and a chance to knock enemies back, which sounds good, but can also be more trouble than it's worth.
Interesting.
Right in the middle of the camp, we then also discover a brand new weapon. The state switcher here is our first real long-range rifle with a range of 20. Other than that though, it does not really outperform anything we currently have. It is also not silenced, so it will likely only be used rarely. Still, let's give it to Dux so that every character now has a second weapon to fall back to. Again though, I doubt we'll need it all that frequently. Speaking of Dux, we can now also spend some mutation points with him, as level 15 gives us just enough to unlock Circuit Breaker. This mutation allows us to disable a mechanical enemy, so a Medbot for example, for 1 turn, although just like Twitch shot earlier, it comes with a minus 25% aim penalty. However, in this episode alone I have already shown you 2 ways how to counteract that penalty, so if we need to use this, then I'm confident that we'll be able to do so with success. Alright, and here we go, ready to leave the Cave of Fear behind us. You may have noticed though that we have actually acquired the 60 weapon parts I mentioned at the beginning of the video, and we will put them to good use in just a moment. Okay, so here we are at the Sea Titans, a map that I had originally planned to include in this episode, but this is another lengthy one, stretching for a good chunk longer than even the Fallen Angel last time, so ultimately I decided against it. Like I said last time, not every episode in this series will have to be 40 minutes long. So all we do for now is unlock the map for fast traveling, and then we return to the Ark, and with that to Delta.
Ah, heard you ran into some pyro ghouls last run. Watch out for them. They got a love affair with firebombs, dripping that stuff all over their faces. Stupid as shit. Spark a pyro ghoul in the right way, and you see them spontaneously combust. Boom! Good times.
Alright, and with those 60 weapon parts, we now upgrade our first weapon to level 3, and the honor will go to the Ancient Pistol. This now also makes it the silent weapon with the highest critical hit damage, so it is very well suited in the hands of Dux, who can get those at will if he needs to. Still, we can improve it further to a critical damage of 9 to be exact, if we attach the driver damage module that we just picked up in the Cave of Fear. Yes, I know the knockback effect is a bit unpredictable, maybe that also makes it a bit more fun to use. The EMP damage module meanwhile can go on the needle pistol, and I would say that is all we can do here for the time being.
Later, Stalkers.
Well, not exactly all. Of course, there is still the Elder, and I'm sure he has another tale to tell.
You follow the trail and get closer to Hammon. Good. I pray you find him quickly. I don't want his mind warped and abused by the zone's more devilish inhabitants. The fate of the Ark depends on you, brave Stalkers. Thank you for letting this old man ramble. Go in peace, Stalkers.
And that we will, fitting words for the end of today's episode. Again, not quite the 40 minutes we had last week, but the Sea Titans is a lengthy area that would have likely pushed today's video even further beyond that. The main thing I wanted to show you today is how this game becomes increasingly more tactical as we progress. The 2 areas that we covered today were really good examples of the slightly more complicated approaches that you sometimes have to take. So even though we did not really make huge progress story-wise, I think we are slowly getting the ball rolling regarding the heart of the gameplay of Mutant Year Zero, and we might soon discover that this game is not so similar to XCOM after all. So stay tuned and join me for the next episode in which we will tackle the Sea Titans. Until then, I hope you enjoyed today's video, and if you did, then I would be very happy if you could leave a thumbs up. If you like what I'm doing and want to support me and my channel further, then you can go ahead and subscribe to stay up to date, grab some merch over on shop.petecomplete.com, or check out and maybe even pledge to the Pete Complete Patreon. Thank you all for watching, and I'll see you next time. Cheers.